Poetry, poetry, oh poetry. There's a link to my poetry book. You can take a screenshot. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about poetry. No, let's talk about the downsides of being a poet. Because there are many. No, there's not that many, but there are a couple, and I think they're good to keep in mind. And you're also like, might be like, well, I am not a poet, so I don't know how much this is gonna help me. I think a poet, outside of the realm of poetry, is probably the equivalent of someone who goes off of their emotions more than they go off of logic. I think the fact that I have some logic, like some craving for logic, and I like science saves me. Because if I was just a poet, I think I would go insane. The fact that you have like poets who live their whole life is great, but it's also a miracle, I think, a little bit. Okay, so first is that you question everything and you cannot let anything go ever, to the point where there's like, work hard, be humble, and or like there is a saying in German, Selbstlob stinkt, which means like praising yourself stinks, like it's not attractive, it's not interesting, it's not cool, whatever. I heard that once and I went insane. I went on a 30-minute debate, and the thing is, I'm the only one debating. The person just says it, fly by, and then I'm like, and I'm like off to the races into this major debate about one sentence, which I fundamentally disagree on so much, because I'm like, why would I want to be around people with that when I'm proud that they hate it? Like, that's not the vibe. That's not a good vibe to be around. But instead of like a normal person being like, I disagree, I'm like, oh, well, let me get the whiteboard. I literally have a whiteboard in the other room. Let me present you all of the things why. Like, you can never let anything go. Yeah, it's the questioning everything and not letting anything go. Which leads us to our next thing, but we'll stay with the questioning. Like, you cannot, I guess, you cannot let anything go until you've like strung it out of all of the points. You're like, well, but I still have 3 counterpoints to their counterpoints that have not been made yet. I think maybe people who like debating are a little bit similar in that realm as well, but it is not a great like feature. Or you don't say anything at all. It is one or the other. But once you start, you're like, well, I have to be right. I have to question this until it is a new thing. Okay. That was a weird accent. I am not good with accents. Thinking. You overthink. I've gotten a better hold of this. Definitely, I think meditation does help, which is something I want to talk about. Meditation, but also, like, ooh. I'll talk about it in the next one. Let me write it down, though. Give me a sec. Alright. What were we saying? Overthinking. Meditation. You can do meditation, which is the cool thing with bad traits of great things, is you can get rid of the negatives for the most part. Not everything. Like the questioning, I don't know if I'm ever going to be someone who's like, I'm probably always going to be like, and then another thing. But things like overthinking, you can definitely get a better hold on with meditation. It makes a huge difference. So you get to keep the benefits and erase the bad parts, which, yeah, granted, some people might not even have the bad parts, but that's life. You deal with what you've been handed, and you play it as well as you can. I'm mixing all of the metaphors. But yeah, so that is something when you overthink, and it's not, overthinking is not cute, and it's also not intelligent. I think there's a huge misconception with overthinkers within themselves. They're like, well, I must think so much because then I get to an intelligent thought. No, sweetie, it's not like that. You have so many thoughts, and then you luckily are intelligent enough to filter through and get the smart, intelligent thoughts, but it has nothing to do with how many you have. Like, at all, which is good, because then you don't have to cling to the trait. There's such a thing, weird thing, where you cling to a bad trait and associate it with a good trait of yours as if they are linked at all. It's like, I guess, musicians a little bit, and like drinking or drugs or whatever, or rappers and drugs, where sometimes people will be like, I make better music when I'm whatever, and it's like, I don't think so. I think you're very lucky and you're very talented, and so you get away with it. But I don't think it has anything to do with that. Or people who associate their traumas with like beneficial things, and I think it's good to rewrite the story, absolutely. But some people take it too far, and you're like, this has nothing to do with it. Okay. Yeah. Not always getting the big picture. Yeah. Especially writers. I think writers in general, but I think poets, I think maybe nonfiction writers don't have this, which is the feeling that you get when you love focusing on small, insignificant details that then do make a big picture. You sometimes end up never getting the big picture. You sometimes never end up like, okay, now let's zoom out. You end up just zooming in more and more and more and more and more until you're trying to perfect something that is not like important, or you just don't get the big picture of life. Like, I woke up today at 11:30. You think I died. Like, I was just so pissed, and I'm into like self-development and working up early and whatever else. And the rant I went on, I ranted to people who I talked to on live stream, now here, like, and it's okay, we'll move on. Like, it does not need to be this like emotional expression about the one time you woke up late. Like, what are you on? So yeah, which leads us to our next point, which is talking yourself into emotions, which happens so often, and I do so well, which is so bad. Which is, if you're decently intelligent and you write, which I think go together, and you write poetry or you write fiction, you write people's emotions, you write how they think, you write how they got there, whatever. You tend to be really great into talking yourself into your own emotions instead of talking yourself out of them, because you're already in this emotional place. And so then you're like, okay, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And then you're like, the way you would write and pull things in to write it more like expressively and explaining it and whatever else and finding things to pull together, you do with yourself, which is so not the vibe. And it is so not productive. And the worst part is you don't get that you're doing it until you're out of the emotion and you're like, that was me talking me into something again, huh? Which leads us to the next point, which is romanticizing bad traits. Especially poetry romanticizes, I think, has the ability to romanticize quite bad traits. Being sad all the time and depressed and insecure is, I don't even know if insecure, but I guess I would put it together with that, is quite romanticized in poetry. And being unsure, which again, like, to a certain degree, that is fine. Again, any emotion, anything, whatever, is fine in moderation. Not everything. There is no moderate, did you know there's no moderate amount of alcohol? I mean, there is, but there's no amount that's like healthy. Something like that. I heard that recently. I was like, that makes sense. But that's not what we're talking about. But you have this ability to romanticize everything, which, again, we're going back to sleep. But like sleeping in late, drinking too much, doing this, doing that, whatever it is, it can be different examples for different people. But you have this ability, which is so cool in fiction and in writing, to like romanticize it, make it larger than life, make it interesting and whatever else. However, when you do it with yourself, it's not beneficial. It's not cute to go to sleep at 11 when you need to be up at 6 for Pilates. It is actually not cute, and it doesn't do anything. And I also thought, oh my god, like once you get happy or whatever, you can't write as well. No, has very little to do. Luckily, I can also write about other people, which might be a service I'm gonna start, we'll see. But it doesn't, like, it's just so useless. in this area, which is, I think, common. There's common things, like languages, I call them, in a profession that if you translate this language into anything else, you won't find the word, because it's like, this is so useless in anything but the thing you're doing. Yeah. So this is some of the downsides of poetry and writing and being a writer. But obviously, I love it and I would not trade it for anything else. But yeah, I thought it's also important, especially if you're a writer. I think the arts have a tendency a little bit to not talk about the bad sides, because you feel like you're minimizing the love you have for it, which you're not. I think you're more maximizing the love you have for it and more demonstrating that you love it so much, even with all of these like caveats and bad traits and whatever else. So yeah, leave it a like, subscribe. My poetry book's in the link below. I think you would enjoy it. And yeah, there's a new episode every Monday. There's always 22 episodes in a season, and then we take a break, but you still have a lot more to go before there's a break.